All right, Shalom. All praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. All right, I want to do a quick video. Basically talking about encouraging brothers and a few sisters out there, to keep being, so-called crazy. All right, don't shy away from people of the world thinking that you're crazy, man. All right, because there's no other way to do it. We have to, and this is something I'm learning, as a very young man in the truth. The world is going to call us crazy, but we are right. You know what I'm saying? We are right. We have the truth. And the world cannot receive it, and they're offended at what we believe, because it goes against their programming that the so-called white man Esau put in their head. And also they have demons on them, that make them offended at the light, you see? The light of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. All right, so this is Hebrews 13 and 12. Wherefore Yahweh Shai also, that he might sanctify the people, the Israelites, beginning with the elect, with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Let us go forth therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. All right, now let's read that in the NLT, Hebrews 13 and 12. So also Yahushua suffered and died outside the city gates to make his people, the Israelites, holy by means of his own blood. So let us go out to him outside the camp and bear the disgrace he bore. That's something we got to do, Of course, and I speak as a very, very young man in the truth. That's the example that we've gotten from our elder apostles, our elder bishops, elders that's been in the truth longer, our spiritual big brothers, that have been out there, laboring, before much longer before us. You know what I'm saying? We got to go out there and we got to bear a piece of that disgrace that Yahweh Shai had to bear. It says in verse 14, it says, for this world is not our permanent home. We are looking forward to a home yet to come, right? The kingdom of heaven, right? We're going to be in those new bodies, those new tabernacles, and we're also going to have a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, So we're looking forward to a new life, eternal life, And in order to get there, we have to go through the straight gate, right? And part of the straight gate, like I want to talk about in this lesson, is, people looking at you like you're just a straight up lunatic, like you are a crazy person, like you've lost your marbles, for what you believe, all right? St. Matthew 7 and 13, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. All right? Excuse me. All right, so what does that word straight mean? S-T-R-A-I-T. It doesn't mean straight like straightforward. Man, I wish that, yeah, there we go. Okay, that word straight, okay, like of course you got the straight of Hormuz, right? Of course we've all been hearing about that, right? Okay, let's get definition 2 right here. It says, straits used in reference to a situation characterized by a specified degree of trouble or difficulty. So trouble and difficulty, right? Those are the key words, right? You're going to have to face trouble and difficulty being in the truth, And, the world is not going to receive what we're talking about, but the Lord is still with us. The Lord is showing us that he's with us. He's showing us his angels. He gave us his ministers, right? The men of Great Millstone, beginning with the elder apostles and elder bishops on down, right? Thine eyes shall see thy teachers. That's written, So the Lord is showing us that he's with us, So Let's get this definition of the adjective, right? Straight, okay? Strait. It says, of a place of limited spatial capacity, narrow or cramped, okay? The second one says, close, strict, or rigorous, right? It's strict and rigorous, being in the truth, Which, of course, I say that as an extremely young man, I'm not trying to, sit here and sound like I'm, so seasoned in this truth or anything, because that's not it, But part of that straight gate is, the world is going to ridicule you, You're going to get ridiculed, which, let's do this, because Elder Apostle Gabar had brought this out before. Let's do etymology of the word ridicule. All right, see what comes up. It says the English word ridicule comes from the Latin verb ridere, meaning to laugh. All right, so people laugh at us, on the highways and the byways, right? They laugh at us. They make scoffing comments on the comment board. They're laughing at us, They're laughing at Yahweh Shai, You got to remember, this is our people. Our people cheered for Barabbas. All right, let's actually go there. So when the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, buck up against our message, well, this is our people right here, man. All right. Same Matthew 27:15. Now at that feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushai, which is called the Anointed? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. In the NLT, it says he knew very well that the religious leaders had arrested Yahushai out of envy. Okay? Verse 19, back in the KJV, when he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with that just man, talking about Yahushai. For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. All right, and it's for this reason that, we believe that Pilate's wife may have been an Israelite, because she got that vision. So she may very well have been an Israelite, And it's even possible that Pilate was an Israelite too. Just a wicked Israelite, Verse 20, but the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Yahushai. That's our fucking people, man. Excuse my language. That's our people are pieces of crap, man, for the most part. Our people are really just straight up wicked, all right? Although we are the seed of the righteous, our people just, scriptures tell you they have compassed the deeds of the wicked, right? Let's actually get that. Deeds of... Our people are worse than Esau, man, for the most part. Jeremiah 5:28, it says, they are waxen fat, they shine, yeah, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. All right, our people go above and beyond what Esau does, man, in terms of wickedness, man. Our people do the most wickedest shit ever. Excuse my language. When Jake gets wicked and evil, he takes it to the utmost degree, They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. Right, so let's go back. Say Matthew 27:16. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushai, which is called the Messiah? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. All right. So let's jump back down to verse 21. The governor answered and said unto them, whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said Barabbas. All right. Our people want Barabbas to be saved, a known criminal, a known murderer. All right. Let's actually get this. What were Barabbas's Salaki, Barabbas is crimes. According to the New Testament, Barabbas was more than a common thief. The gospel accounts describe him as a criminal involved in serious offenses. All right, in Gospel of Mark 15:7, Barabbas had been imprisoned with rebels who had committed murder during an insurrection. All right, so this guy, he was guilty of murder, all right? In the Gospel of Luke 23:19 and 23:25, he is described as being jailed for insurrection, rebellion, and murder. All right? In the Gospel of John 18:40, he is called a robber, a term that could refer to a bandit, a brigand, all right, or revolutionary outlaw, rather than merely a petty thief. All right? So Barabbas was a murderer, okay? It says, putting the accounts together, Barabbas appears to have been a well-known prisoner involved in a violent uprising against Roman authority and was guilty of at least one murder committed in connection with that rebellion. All right, whether he was primarily viewed as a murderer or a rebel or a bandit or all three depends on which gospel account is emphasized, but the combined picture is that he was a dangerous political and violent offender rather than a minor criminal. All right, so I say all that to say that our people are going to buck up against this truth because our people cheered for Barabbas. All right, our people are not supposed to get the truth, you know? So when they mock us and they say that we're crazy, because we believe in UFOs and, which we see the UFOs. The Lord shows us the so-called UFOs, the chariots. We've seen them with our own two eyes, all right? The world, they can't receive this truth because it's really not for them. It's only for the elect, all right? So we'll take being crazy, all right? According to these people. Romans 11:7, what then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded, right? The rest would cheer for Barabbas. The rest would say, crucify him and let his blood be upon us and our children. You know what I'm saying? But the elect are not going to be in that spirit. The elect were not in that spirit back then. The elect are not in that spirit now. The elect are going to hearken unto this message. You see, and the elect are going to be made of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. All right? Like it says in Isaiah. So I got a couple more precepts here. I don't want to go on for too long. I kind of want to get to the point, and not ramble, but this is 1 Corinthians 1:18. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of the Most High. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. So the preaching of the cross to them that perish, right? This gospel going out to those that are meant to be destroyed, the 2/3 here in America and the rest of the non-elect of Israel scattered abroad, it's foolishness to them. It's, these guys, they believe in that made-up Hebrew. They believe in they're certain that, these people on the 12 tribes chart are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is just a chart made by some random guy. But that's where you're wrong, because the Lord reveals his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. All right, so it was not random men that gave us this gospel, So let's go to 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. It says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man, right? And we're spiritual men, and we're in a carnal world. So naturally, there's going to be that friction there, and these people are going to think that we're like some crazy lunatics, but ultimately the Lord is going to vindicate us. He's going to show us to have been correct and innocent in his eyes this whole time, And these natural brute beasts, these 2/3, they're just not going to understand this, okay? Because these things are the spirit of the Most High. They can't receive these things. So it's really only for us. It's only for the hopefully elect. So hey, with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom.